So the message of non-duality is constantly pointing to a one reality. It says that there's only one substance here, and this one substance is only appearing as many objects. It says that these many objects, if we want to look at it a different way, is nothing other than the one substance of reality. So that there isn't a difference between reality and the world of objects that we know. That's non-duality at the basis, at its roots. It's saying that within the multiplicity, its underlying reality is only one substance. Well, if this is true, this one reality, if it's true, it must meet a certain criteria. Like it needs to have a definition. And so we're going to go over the criteria of reality, or we could say what makes something real or not. So the first definition of reality is that it's permanent. It doesn't fluctuate. It doesn't come and go. It doesn't vibrate. It's not a frequency. If there's any part of what is being pointed to, if that moves in any way, it does not meet the first criteria of permanence. Another word we might apply to this is it's immutable. Whatever reality is, it can't be muted in any way or changed or altered. The second criteria is that it has to exist. And it has to exist independently of anything else. There can't be anything before it that gives reality the energy to be reality. That reality has to be the bedrock of all that is known. So we could say that it's self-existing, it's self-illuminating, it's self-energizing. It's what gives energy to all that is known. So far we could say self-permanence, self-existing, and the third one is it has to know itself. There has to be a knowing quality to it. Because if we investigate into this, if it didn't know it existed, then what would be here to know that existence is existing or not? Existence wouldn't be known by anything and therefore wouldn't exist at all. So it has to be self-knowing. It has to know itself just by being itself. This knowing doesn't exist outside of it and looks onto it and says, hey, that thing over there is existing. No, it's part of reality. And so these are the three criteria: permanence, independence, and knowing. And these are not three separate qualities that have come together to make the one. This is the three essences of the one reality. So let's bring it a little closer to home. Hey, Saad, can you mute yourself? It's nice to have you here, by the way. We just went over the 3 definitions of reality, or what makes something real. And I'll go over those again real quick. They have to be permanent, it has to exist, and it has to know that it exists. These are the 3 criteria of reality. If something does not meet these 3 criteria, it is what we would consider unreal. So let's bring this home. Let's bring this a little closer by bringing in a couple other definitions. They are relative knowledge and absolute knowledge. Relative knowledge is something, it's an essence or an attribute that is only here under certain circumstances, and in other circumstances it's not here. Where absolute knowledge, it's what exists under all circumstances. It never is not present in any circumstance. So relative knowledge, when we dig into that a little deeper, we could start off with analyzing the 3 parts of what we think reality is, right? Because from a person's point of view, reality is something that we know with our mind, body, or 5 senses. But when we analyze even these 3, on their surface, they come and go. The mind comes and goes, the body and its senses come and go, and everything that we know with our 5 senses is constantly changing. So for example, if we look at our mind, images are coming and going. Fantasizing is coming and going with those images, because at one time they weren't there. These images and or fantasies are here, and then they drift off. They're like a cloud. This is everything with the mind. Memories, there's some certain memories that you're not having right now, and then they'll come in like, oh, I remember that, and then they'll drift away. Ideas, problem solving, planning. At one time they weren't here, for a moment they were, and then they drift off. They come and go. They do not, they, being the mind, does not meet the first criteria of reality, because the mind is impermanent. It's constantly coming and going. What about your body and the senses and feelings within it? I mean, there's some times that you're sad, other times that you're tired, sometimes you might be elated. These are all coming and going. And even if we pinpoint one of these aspects, take like I'm tired, sometimes I'm more tired than other times. So even each aspect has its own fluctuations. And therefore, anything that we're experiencing with our feelings and emotions, they do not meet the criteria of permanence. They're coming and going. They're fluctuating. Even the body itself, the physical body, it's constantly changing. I mean, you get on the scale one day and it's going to read different than the next. It's taller or shorter than it used to be. It's age. It's as it ages, it seems to get less and less, you could say, healthy as we age. It's the body, the physical body is constantly changing and therefore does not meet the definition of reality. What if we take it even to a bigger realm? How about the sleeping state? How about waking state? How about dreaming state? These are three states that we all experience. But when you're in one, you're not in the others. That doesn't meet the definition of permanence. Yet we believe that these three states are really the grandiose everything. Like we're in one of these three states, and this is real. But again, when you investigate into the states themselves, you can only be in one relative to the others. Hence, relative knowledge. So everything that we know, everything an individual knows, everything is relative. It's relative knowledge. It comes and goes, and therefore it does not meet the definition of what is real. But what about absolute knowledge? What is it that never comes and goes? What is it that's permanent in every mental condition, physical condition, perspective condition, sleeping condition, dreaming condition, and waking condition? What is that? That is awareness. It is awareness that meets the definition of reality. It's awareness alone, where nothing stands outside of awareness. This goes back to the feeling that we have, like from time to time when you reflect back in your life, and there's something, you're like, there's a presence that's constant. Like I've always been I've always been the same thing, whatever this is. I've always been Scott somehow. But when I reflect back, my knowledge has changed, my friends have changed, my relationships have changed, my body has changed, my age has changed, everything has changed. Except I'm experiencing this essence that never changes. What is that? What is presence in all of that change? It's awareness. That's that pondering, because when you reflect back and you're like, there's something that never changes, if you analyze that situation, what's happened is that you've turned your attention away from the objective world onto yourself of awareness, and you're remembering that for a moment. That's the permanence. Yet, the moment we turn our mind to that, to know it, it goes away. Because the mind's trying to objectify the infinite, and it can't do that. And so then it just moves on. You notice when that happens, you're just like, huh, and you just move on. So let's bring this even closer to home, because in Advaita Vedanta, it says if you can't experience knowledge directly or truth directly, then you discard it. So let's continue to bring this home to ourselves in our own experiences, to see if awareness is truly permanent under every circumstance, and if it exists, and if it knows that it exists. So let's just go back to start with the waking state. We're aware right now. It's completely obvious, right? And we're aware of dreaming, and we're aware of sleeping. So from a waking state point of view, we're meeting the definition of permanence, because we're permanently here. And even if we want to try to play the game of there's sometimes I'm unaware, which it does appear to be true, what had to be aware to know that you were unaware? Awareness. Awareness is inescapable knowledge. There's nowhere you can go to escape it. Because if you did ever get to the escape hatch, what do they call it? The safe rooms. What has to be there to know that you're safe in that room? Awareness. What about dreaming states? Are we aware in the dream state? Yes. If you analyze the dream state and the waking state, there's just a few aspects about them that make them different. They're really the same dream. It's just in the dream state, it seems like we have different physics, right? We can fly or we can run fast, those types of things. So there seems to be some difference there relative to the waking state. But when you analyze them, they are both dreamed characters in a dreamed world. In which we are aware of ourselves as the dreamed character in the dreamed world. Because again, for a one reality to happen, for one reality to exist, the waking state can't be a separate experience from the one. Neither can the dream state. And what sits in the middle of these two states of dreaming and waking? Sleeping. And we have to be aware in the sleeping state as well, because if we didn't know that there was a gap between dreaming and waking, we would be massively confused. Right? You'd be flying in one state and then all of a sudden taking an exam in the next moment, and you're like, how did this happen? You know? And then you might be in the dream world in Paris, and then if there wasn't a gap, we would be confused. So what is aware of the difference between these two states while we're sleeping? Awareness. What knows that you had a good night's sleep or not? Your mind wasn't there. Your body wasn't there. What was there? What's permanently on call? How about when an alarm clock goes off? This is always my favorite one. It's like when the alarm clock, your mind's not there, your body's not there. What hears the alarm? What's always on call? What's always there for you? It's permanently here for us, for it is ourselves. I mean, that's where this whole thing's going. But again, what this is trying to show you is that awareness meets the first criteria of reality, of permanence. It's permanent in waking, dreaming, and sleeping. And this is you. This is where this is going. This message is like, this is you. Awareness is yourself. What about being blacked out? You know, if you've ever become unconscious, like you got knocked out or you passed out or you're in a coma, right? When you're knocked out or passed out, you're in a very, very dark and extremely peaceful place. What was there to know that? What about near-death experiences? So the experience of death. I mean, if for those of us who listen and watch some of these people explain their near-death experiences, they all have a relatively common theme. That I died, I came out of my body, I saw my body there lying on the ground or table, I went through some sort of a portal into these beautiful realms, we can call it heaven. I sensed God, I experienced God. I mean, these are very heavenly, beautiful stories. And yet, what is the one underlying thread to every one of these stories? They were all aware of them. So even in death, awareness remains. There's a Sanskrit term for this. It's called ajata. Ajata means unborn. It means the one reality never came into existence. Therefore, it'll never die. It'll never go away. It's been permanently here. And so these examples are showing that ajata, the one, is unborn. That it's meeting the second criteria right there. Self-existing. Self-existence is ajata. And then the last example is psychedelic experiences, right? Those who take these psychedelic drugs and their mind just, I mean, these are the most profound experiences you can have. I mean, except maybe a near-death experience. But you get blown into the atmosphere. You go from one side of the galaxy to the next in no time at all. You morph into non-physical concepts like calculus or a musical note, and they're not mental concepts. You are them. You could morph into a tree. And you're not a person anymore. You are a tree experiencing yourself as that. I mean, this is profound. And yet, what's the underlying thread? Awareness. Awareness was there as you experienced yourself as a musical note. This is the most profound knowledge that you can encounter. because it's inescapable. And it knows itself. Do you not know that you're aware? Knowing this and giving yourself permission to rest into awareness is the greatest gift you could ever give yourself. It's the highest act of love. Because reality is love. Reality is total unity. And that's the definition of love. There's no agitation there. Because there's only one, there can be no resistance. Because there isn't one thing that's rubbing against another. There's just the one. So there's no resistance, it's peace. And because it's just one and it knows itself as that one, it's totally content. It's fulfilled, it's satisfied, it needs nothing else because it is everything. If it tries to leave itself, it only finds more of itself. So it's completely satisfied. It has no desires. And that's the definition of happiness. So ask yourself the question, am I aware? Notice that you paused, you went somewhere to retrieve the answer of yes. It's actually absurd, is it not? The question within itself is absurd because awareness is so immediate, it's so intimate, and it's so obvious once you turn your attention to it. It's effortless. Like, how much effort does it take to know that I'm aware, that you're aware? None. Zero. So by asking yourself this question, am I aware, you go to the one reality. You go to that which is real, which is yourself. This could be the most impactful part of this message, is that when you do go to yourself, to reality, notice that there is absolutely no fear there. You see, typically, I should say, when we first hear this message, it says, we aren't who we think we are. And we generally have a fright because you're like, well, what do you mean? I'm not who am I then? What am I? Am I going to morph into something? Am I going to change into somebody else than myself? Am I going to die? What does this mean? And so there's a fright, and that's okay. That's how it works. We don't want to deny that. Yet, when we go to the place that the message points, we do not find that at all. we find peace. We find love. We find contentment. That's all that the one reality is that. And we know this. Reality knows this. And we are that reality. It's inescapable. We, ourself, is absolute knowledge. And this absolute knowledge of yourself will never betray you. It will never leave you. It's never left you. You've never left yourself. You are Ajata. You are eternal. You, awareness, are infinite. It's encouraged to spend as much time in the place that delivered the answer of yes. Now, yes comes and goes, but the source from which yes arose never comes and goes.